All right, what is up? What is up? What is up, everybody? It is Phil Nagy. It is Kit Nagy. It is Nagy on Sports, and it is sim time here. Struggling to get all the way through. It's week 17. Browns are 3-12, and this was supposed to be the Sunday night game. Once again, got flexed out. Miami Dolphins in town, last home game of the season for the Browns, and a wounded crew stumbling into the stadium here. We'll see how they hold up again tonight. But Kit, how we doing?
I'm doing well, and yeah, certainly is a bit of a. I mean, certainly understand why they flexed it out. It wasn't the best matchup by this point in the season with the way the Browns have been and Miami's struggles and their injuries. So certainly not the game you were hoping for when you first saw it on your slate earlier. But certainly a game nonetheless, and the last one in the stadium there in Cleveland. So certainly a last chance to see your Browns here this year, but certainly a forgettable year for the Browns, as I guess at this point really just vying for draft position.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did just for funsies look up, get a couple of nice suite level tickets for about $60. You could sit in the nosebleeds for about $8 if you'd like to go up to the game this weekend. So
there you go.
All right. Opening kick will be returned by Jerome Ford. Again, do appreciate everybody being on. Phil Nagy, Kit Nagy on Sports. This season has been partially brought to you by one of our longtime subscribers. Thank you to Kai Magus again for donating this gaming PC. That part of the operation has gone quite smoothly once we got the kinks worked out. So grateful to that person, and let's get this thing going. DTR back again. By all accounts, will start, even though he's had a little bit of a calf injury this week at practice. I don't know if they just don't want to see Bailey Zappi or if they don't think he's ready or what. But we're going to get DTR again, and he's going to complete 9 yards to Jamari Thrash.
Yeah, quarterback position is one of the ones that takes the most time to do a transition to a new team. So
that's fair.
A lot to know.
That's fair. Play action now. DTR firing deep over the middle and incomplete. He was going for Thrash again. Javon Holland, the Oregon Duck, free safety for the Dolphins in coverage, sets up a 3rd and 1. And 3-step drop. Quickly to throw into the right side. Another out route. Another catch for Jamari Thrash. So 3 targets early for Thrash. Tackled by the former Brown, Emmanuel Agba.
Yes, indeed.
Again, do appreciate everybody being on. Thanks so much to all 1,134 of our subscribers. You guys are the absolute best. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe, we'd really appreciate that. Also, you can hit the like button as well to continue to help grow the audience. The off season is when Nagy on Sports is its most fun, so make sure that you are subscribed and dialed in and ready to go. Kit and I have some kind of fun things planned for this off season.
Yeah, a little different than the way we've done it in the past. Excited for this opportunity. Should be a fun one.
Nice run for Ford to the left side. He'll get all of it but a couple of inches, and now a 3rd and 1 here for Ken Dorsey to decide what he wants to do.
Yeah, and if anything, in terms of having a bad season and high draft potential, finally having a first-round draft pick,
yes,
in some ways this will be a more fun off-season for us here on Nagy on Sports than many others, just because of the options that opens up.
Absolutely, yes. Oh, gosh, that would have been a real kick to the crotch if we were getting Houston another top 5 pick.
Yeah.
Forward up the middle, this time for 3. So the drives started out pretty well, driving the ball down the field, now into Dolphin territory. 2nd and 7 for DTR in the offense. He'll take a snap from Ethan Posick. Back to pass now. DTR fires right side, short throw again. There's Elijah Moore, and he'll try to step out of a tackle. Got it near the line to gain. They'll say inches shy for Elijah Moore. 11 personnel in there. No David Njoku ruled out of this one, so it'll be Akins. And this time Ford can't go anywhere. In fact, he'll lose 2 yards. Duke Riley filling the middle of that defense to begin with, and it looks like the Browns might punt. Well, maybe they'll try a field goal from here. Hopkins doesn't have the yips in the sim, so...
That's right. They have really struggled in the kicking game, obviously.
No, they're going to go.
They're going to go for this. This is a more Stefanski look anyway.
Absolutely it is. Extra tight end of the game, and they will try to run it up the middle. Know where to go. Jordan Brooks, the former Seahawk, middle linebacker, got in there in a hurry, and Ford will not even get back to the line of scrimmage. There was about 5 Dolphins who could have gotten him there. Sheesh.
That looked like the perfect spot for a little play action. A drag off the backside of that would have been money. So open. And unfortunately, they do hand the ball off, and it is swallowed up live.
Yeah. Or a little boot action there, too, to get DTR in some space. Hindsight's 20/20. There's Tua. Dolphins still technically in the hunt here at 7-8, so you know they're going to be playing tough out there. Browns continuing to be injured. No Obo Okoronkwo, so Isaiah McGuire will be starting. Here's Mostert to the right side, and Mostert's, we know he's speedy, and he's up to the 47. Picks up about 14 on his first touch of the day.
And a rare blown contain from 95. Unable to make that tackle on the perimeter.
Mike Hall Jr. did come back a week ago. Fired deep down. Knocked away. Thornhill saves a touchdown. They were going deep for Tyreek Hill. Thornhill able to swat that one away.
Lucky that wasn't going to be a PI call. A little underthrown if he runs back through the defender in that one, probably on the 1 year.
Very big orbit motion, and then they'll go over the middle and knocked down by Jordan Hicks that time. He was looking in the general direction of Jalen Waddle. Weird-looking formation there for the Dolphins. 3rd and 10 here. Tua in a shotgun. Motion coming from Jonnu Smith, who's emerged as a nice weapon for him at the tight end spot. Tua now in trouble. Hit as he throws by Mike Hall Jr. Incomplete pass, and they'll make the Dolphins go 4 and out after that initial first down run.
Defense showing up there a little bit on that drive, getting some good pressure and creating some havoc in the backfield.
And this one's going to bounce in and through the end zone there. DTR back out onto the field again. They went for it on 4th down and did not get it.
There's just no way, Madden, that DTR is that sweaty after a singular drive in this time of the year. Sorry.
Hey, he works real hard, Kit. Ford, nice run to the right side. Gives him about 10. They'll give him a first down. He's been very feast or famine here. He's had negative runs or 10-yard runs here so far in the game.
I mean, look at them. They're all dripping. That's not happening.
Especially in a night game.
Yeah, night game, cold, wintertime.
Good protection. Akins makes the catch, breaks a tackle, breaks a second tackle, and it'll be shoved out of bounds just across the midfield stripe. Storm Duck, the defensive back over there to take him out, and a big first down for Akins.
That was a thing of beauty right there. Nicely placed ball from DTR, put it low and outside where only Akins could get to it. Even with good position for the defender, able to pick up some good yardage out of that one.
Absolutely, it was. All right, so they'll get a new set of downs here at the 48-yard line, heading towards the dog pound here. Posick snaps it back, 4-man rush coming from the Dolphins. They'll fire right side. Contested catch. It will be knocked away again, going to Jamari Thrash, and that's Jalen Ramsey. Still playing football at a pretty high level here, managing one half of the Dolphin defensive backfield. Little pistol look now here for DTR. Now they'll get some orbit motion from Akins, and they'll just use it as a little eye candy. Ford kind of jukes into the blocker and gets essentially no gain there. Calais Campbell, longtime veteran, makes the tackle. 3rd and 9 here for DTR now. 4-man rush is taken care of. They got a max protect look. He'll go long throw, and more. Did he get the ball turned around? He did for a first down. That was a long developing route and a long completion, but it gets a first down for the Browns.
Yeah, great sense of where the down to gain was. Very nice body awareness. Get the ball where he needed it for the 6 route.
Absolutely. DTR now firing deep shot, left side, up in the air, caught Judy, touchdown Browns! Somehow the defender kind of got turned around, and Jerry Jeudy right on cue with a great catch for a touchdown here.
Yeah, defender tried to make a play on the ball right here. Actually gets caught underneath as Jerry Jeudy goes up for the ball, and that allows Jeudy to get into the end zone uncontested. As Jeudy made the correct play, defender kind of makes this awkward cut underneath it, trying to get to the ball, but nothing doing as Jeudy was high pointing it like he should.
Absolutely. Again, that's the rookie out of Louisville, Storm Duck. They've picked on him a couple times already today. Great name, Storm Duck, by the way. Marlo, welcome in. Good afternoon. Keith, good afternoon to you as well. Hope you guys are well. Happy holidays from Kit and I.
Yes, indeed.
Hopkins will kick this one off. Browns leading 7-0 here. 4:44 on the first quarter clock. Week number 17. Again, Browns, I think if it ends today, what are they at right now? Let me triple check my math here. NFL draft order right now. Looks like we're sitting 5th, but there is a log jam. I think there are 6 teams at 3-12 right now.
There are, but they've got a good shot to be top 5, a top 5 pick. So, obviously they can't win. If they win either of these 2 games, then they're definitely not going to be a top 5 pick anymore. But
oh yeah, if they somehow got to 5 wins, you're pushing yourself into the teens without much effort.
Right. So they, which I don't suspect is very likely. I mean, let's be frank about it. It's very likely they lose both of these games. But yeah, at only 3 wins on the season, they've got a very good shot of being top 5 potentially. I mean, they're not going to get to the number 1 pick. That one's pretty much a foregone conclusion. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, the Giants are locked in with their 2 wins, and everybody else has more than 2. So unless they really screw it up,
right, which is not overly likely at this point. But that doesn't mean they couldn't be 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like I said, the Patriots, the Jags, the Titans, us, and Vegas all have a 3-12 record. So some things will certainly shake out. I don't even know if any of those, like Jacksonville and Tennessee, might play again, for instance. Like somebody's got to win. So we'll see what ends up shaking out on that front. Hi, Karen. Welcome in. Go Browns.
Yes, very much so, Keith. They definitely know they can't afford to I mean, at this point, it's draft capital. Yeah. They know they can't afford to win any more games. Doesn't mean they don't want to win in terms of they want their guys to go out there and play hard, and they don't want them to quit on themselves and quit on the team. But they're not trying to win.
Yes, I think maybe that's why DTR is playing quarterback.
Yep.
Try real hard, but probably not going to win. How about in the backfield, Myles Garrett will swallow up Mostert.
That's also why, and we've speculated this on the channel, but that's also why guys like Tillman's still in concussion protocol, even though he probably should have been out of concussion protocol. I mean, I don't think it was. I mean, how long has it been? The likelihood of it actually.
This is like 5 games, yeah.
Yeah. So the likelihood of it actually lasting that long and it be legitimately like it's just lingering is very, very low. So more likely they're just playing the game, keeping them out, preserving guys because they know. They know.
Little bubble screen of sorts too. Looked like Mostert again. I couldn't get a number on that player, but it was a 3rd and 15, and the Browns are going to get a big stop out of it and force another punt. Hey, Wendell, welcome in. Yeah, and if I'm again, I think they're in 2 different situations. Speaking of Myles Garrett and Joel Bitonio, Bitonio's was basically just, are you going to retire or not? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm definitely not. He was like, I'm not going to play anywhere else, is what he said. I think he's under contract for 1 more year, so I think it's sort of I'm going to wait and see what the what the team's plans are, and if they basically like if it's going to be best for the team, I'll retire now. Was kind of what Bitonio's thoughts were. Nice holding on right on cue on Bitonio.
Yeah.
Garrett's was much more. Garrett's was much more like I'm not going to stick around for several year tank mode situation. So
Right.
I'd like to hear what their plan to win is, and to win quickly. And if I'm on board with it, then I'll stay. And if not, I'll let them trade me, kind of a deal.
Exactly.
And Miles is going to get, I mean, not a historic return, but he would get a substantial return for getting the defensive player of the year in his prime.
Oh yeah,
Multiple first-round picks, you would
guys,
assume.
Yeah, those guys do not come on the market. I mean, the last
No.
time we saw a trade like that, I mean, oh man, when was the last time? It's been a hot minute.
For a defensive guy? Yeah, I was going to say.
For a top flight, future Hall of Famer defensive edge.
Yeah, Reggie White, maybe? I mean,
Yeah, probably Reggie White.
And his wasn't a trade. His was free. He was like the first iteration of free agency.
Right.
So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't ever. It's like a quarterback. You don't find those guys on the open market. It's not. You don't. The trades and then when they do, the trades do happen. I mean, they're landmark trades.
They are. They are. 3rd and 1 here out of the pistol. Ford, he'll try the right and is not going to get through.
I'm not saying we're going to trade Myles Garrett. I don't know.
No,
It could happen. I'm not going to put it outside of the realm of possible, especially if they get to the point where Myles isn't satisfied with what their plans are to be a winning franchise, and he's like, look, guys, I mean, let's do this. Because he's got that kind of pull. I mean, he's one of those guys.
He's sure. 4th and 1. They do throw it this time per Kit's request, and they will complete the first down conversion to Jordan Akins. More pistol look here on a 1st and 10. And, for it's easy for us to sit here and be like, let's just be sucky for the next 3 years, and then maybe we can get Arch Manning. Like, you don't get Myles Garrett to sign up for that plan. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, that's
no way.
So my assumption is that at this point, really, what you go for Kirk Cousins and you hope that his connection to Stefanski is the tiebreaker, because lots of teams are probably going to go after him. He's going to have the Russell Wilson deal where basically the Falcons are paying his salary, so you can give him essentially the vet minimum. And then, that's probably your best chance to sort of keep the band back together, if you will, with these veterans.
That is your best hope. I agree.
Hopefully a Nick Chubb comes back to closer to old Nick Chubb after another, 8 months of rehab and just rest and recovery. For the knee specifically, I think the foot will heal fine. And then you still got the Chief, and you'll have to make a couple decisions on the offensive line, but you could bring back Bitonio, you could bring back Conklin. I'm not sure what Posic's contract status is, but you liked Whippler before his injury. You can stick with Teller, you keep DeWan on the left. Like, you could mostly run this thing back with very few changes, and then hope that Stefanski could find a way to breathe some life into Kirk Cousins. Because I think Sam Darnold's going to be too expensive for what we want to get into. 2nd and goal here from the 8. Little flip to the right side. Tackled immediately. Jordan Poyer, the longtime Buffalo Bill, playing some defense for the Dolphins now.
For those that were concerned about the fact that they reworked a deal with Deshaun Watson, that was inevitable. That was coming. It was just a matter of time. Just because at the end of the day, they're stuck with a situation. They're going to get into the end zone there with Elijah Moore. A nice little body move to get himself ball over the line. Mm-hmm. That was an impressive play from a short of stature player, able to get himself some leverage and ball over the line. But gotta say that inevitability of that move for Deshaun Watson working the cap numbers, because I mean you were absolutely crippled with the way it was currently structured. You had to rework it, and Phil and I have talked about this on the Discord, but you're not, just because you restructure the deal doesn't mean he's playing. That just means that, they had to do something, and they need to make it viable, especially if they want to keep guys like Myles Garrett, because if they want to have a chance of winning, they've got to have some space, and if they had to rework the deal, and that may be a reworked deal for him to sit, and now they've said to this point it's going to be a quarterback competition, right?
Sure.
But the odds of him being your starting quarterback or even taking another snap for the Browns seem pretty minimal.
No, I think they're going to try to find every way they can to keep him on PUP for all of next year. And then in 26, it's probably going to be like it was his last year in Houston. We're just going to pay you to stay home. So at least he's familiar with that game. Left side throw, and a nice one. Dropped it in the bucket to good old River Craycraft. Dolphins really hadn't done much on offense here. Browns up 14-0 here in the sim. I have been on the record so far, Keith, is saying that I don't love any of the quarterbacks in this draft, especially not the quote-unquote first-round guys. People whose draft analysis and opinions I trust certainly more than my own would say that, like, the top 2 or 3 guys in this year's draft would be like quarterbacks 6, 7, and 8 from last year's draft. You know what I mean? Yep. So it's kind of like, okay, well, it's already been McCarthy, it's already been Daniels, it's like all those guys would have already been taken, and now it's like, okay, I guess I'm going to take Carson Beck now, I'm going to take Shedeur Sanders now, or whatever. Right. Now, do I think that somebody's going to take quarterback 1 and 2? Probably. I would just hope I hope that it's not us. I am not in on that. Now, does that mean that would I be willing to kick the tires on a Dylan Gabriel or a Will Howard or something like that, like in the 5th or 6th round? Absolutely. I would take somebody there, especially if you feel like DTR has run his course here. You find another sort of, hey, let's see if this kid can be a serviceable backup in the system. Absolutely. But in terms of the next quarterback of the Cleveland, again, unless they just completely decide to totally tank it, and they trade Myles for multiple first-round picks, and they trade the Chief, and they trade Denzel. Like, unless they're going to totally go total teardown and get rid of everybody who's under contract and start with a roster of about 8 guys, then I guess if they decide to fall in love with one of these guys, I'm just not in on any of them. Personally, if they stay at 4 or 5, I'll finish my point and then Kit can chime in here. But if they stay at 4 or 5 or wherever they're at now, I would say the best offensive or defensive lineman on your board is where I would go. So whether that's a nice catch in the corner for a touchdown by Tyreek Hill, so I would do whether that's an edge rusher, whether that's Mason Graham, like the big defensive tackle from Michigan, if that's Campbell, the left tackle from LSU, or Banks, or like whichever your top tackle or top defensive lineman is where I would go there. There you go. Now Kit can give his thoughts as the Dolphins score a touchdown, but we're going to get a booth review.
Yeah, interesting on this booth review here. No, I completely agree. It's definitely, I don't think it's quarterback in the first round. I think that's a valid point. They're just not the talent, and I think that would be a big mistake to go that route for the Browns, especially in this draft. So yeah, it's somebody else in that position, and then find a different way. And then I'm also comfortable later in the draft for a guy that you take a shot at and see if he can't be, developed in your system. And who knows? You never know how those guys might turn out. And that's we got several examples of that in the NFL of late. But we do have a few different ways that they could look to do this, and we've kind of teased a little bit here on the channel what we're going to do for this offseason. Should be fun. But we're going to take a look at some of those potential other ways and avenues that the Browns may look to try this whole thing out, and could be pretty exciting, the different ways, and maybe a little compare and contrast, see what they might look like for us.
Absolutely. 14-7, so I guess the touchdown did stand. Here comes Jerome Ford. Nice run to the 35, to the 40, to the 45. Jerome Ford, again, 2 runs over 60 yards already this season. Puts him in a pretty short list of NFL running backs so far. We know he's got the explosion in those legs. Yeah, it's an interesting draft, Jim. You say that too. I would, like, if they don't love somebody there at 4 or 5, I would absolutely. I think there's a lot of really good players from like 15 to 30 that I don't feel great about taking at 4 or 5. You know, and then that gets yourself into the Ashton Genty conversation. That gets yourself into, like, I don't feel like the Browns could use Travis Hunter. Maybe you can talk yourself into Will Johnson if you're ready to move on from Greg Newsome, the cornerback from Michigan. But other guys, a couple of these guys at the top of the draft, I'm not sure they're that much better than a guy you could get at 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Right. That's a little more custom fit to what your actual needs
are.
And best player available, in a spot, you got to remember with best player available, take the best player available, but also got to consider your roster in that if you can find more draft capital out of a spot that you can then work back, get the guy that actually fits your roster with best player available, then work additional draft picks. I mean, that's especially in a rebuild where you're trying to get better in a hurry. More shots or more opportunities at the plate really gives you more chances for some of those to hit.
Mm-hmm. Third and very long, and they'll hand it off, and then the Dolphins will call timeout to make it a 4th and 20. So a little bit of life from the Dolphins. Got that touchdown and then a big defensive stand after the nice Jerome Ford run. Corey Bojorquez will put it away. So, yeah, again, I don't think we've really, I'll make a whole video kind of describing it. But, yeah, what Kit and I kind of have planned is sort of 3 different options for roster overhauls, and we will leave it up to you, the faithful fans of Nagy Nation on the Discord channel, to kind of vote on them. One of them would be kind of what we just talked about, where it's just acquire Kirk Cousins, basically keep most of the vets around for another year and try to run the whole thing back with the roster that you thought you had built for this year, and then hope that competent quarterback play gets you closer to your goals. So that's certainly an option. Another option would be kind of like a medium rebuild. So not trading Miles and Denzel and Chief, but being willing to go with either a rookie quarterback or a younger quarterback, or re-signing maybe like a Jameis Winston. Nice sack by Diabate there. 2nd and 22 coming up. And then the third option would be like a total rebuild. Trade Miles, trade the Chief, trade Denzel. Basically, there's about 9 guys who we've identified who would be like pieces that would stay. And it's like Mike Hall, JOK, Diabate probably, just really, really young, really cheap guys, or your rookies that are still playing on rookie deals at a decent level, like a DeJuan Jones would stay, Luke Whippler potentially. But otherwise, we would basically just start from scratch, but we would acquire a bunch more picks and then see what that would look like. So then I think what I'd like to do, time permitting, of course, is that I will actually create all 3 versions of the roster and just save them separately from each other. And then I'm not going to sim all 3 versions of the season on the channel for you, but we'll pick the one to sim on the channel. And then I'll just kind of simulate the season of the other ones, and I'll do kind of a recap video and sort of see where they ended up and see what differences there may or may not have been. So we'll see. Could be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Keith. Competent quarterback play. It's so very, very important.
It's the very thing the Browns have been searching for since they came back.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I think there are plenty of people, maybe myself included, who thinks that Tim Couch was a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And in a different situation with not the crappy piecemealed together roster that the league gave the Browns, that he might have done significantly better than he ended up doing. But, shy of that. Somebody was talking, I think we were talking on the Discord channel earlier this week about the last time the Browns drafted a functionally competent quarterback, and I think Bernie Kosar is probably the answer to that question, right?
Yeah, Bernie Kosar, and you could make an argument for Baker, but
that's fair.
That's really been it, and of course that outside of yes, they spent a first overall draft pick for for Baker to get to
Yeah.
that position.
Yeah.
That's outside of doing that. The other guys they have gotten have been hopes and prayers and a bunch of things that you could probably reasonably well have predicted weren't going to work out very well.
Yeah, I would say they didn't draft Kelly Holcomb. They didn't draft Vinny Testaverde. Trying to think about the last time they had moderately decent quarterbacks. They didn't draft Jeff Garcia. They didn't draft Joe Flacco. But then you're like, oh, but Manziel. Oh, Brady Quinn. Oh, Brandon Weeden. Oh, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. Colt
McCoy, yep. Lots of guys that different. Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So, anyway.
Well, I think the couch point is really important to realize from the perspective of, you got to remember guys like Mahomes, guys, that get drafted into good situations specifically, they have the opportunity to flourish because they're Jordan Love is a good example of that, where he was drafted in a good spot, a good team with a great quarterback in front of him. I mean, Aaron Rodgers even benefited from that way back in the day. Drafted to a good team with a good quarterback in front of him with an opportunity to develop, and sure enough, he develops. And an Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, those guys could very well have been ruined being drafted to a bad spot with bad coaching, bad O-line play, disorganization in the franchise, any number of factors that can lead to that. But just because they're great and talented in college doesn't mean it's going to work in the NFL. Really situationally dependent.
Tua takes a shot to the head from Martin Emerson.
Yeah, I'd be worried about that concussion right there.
Yeah, I have injuries turned off, but
yeah,
that was not a good looking hit there. As it gets out of contain again, Isaiah McGuire starting for the injured Obo Okoronkwo, starting for the traded Za'Darius Smith, as this thing had started to go off of the rails. 14-7, Dolphins have the ball.
I agree, too. I think Baker very much would be here still, and we wouldn't be in this mess if he had just gotten his shoulder fixed.
If he had just swallowed his pride and gotten it fixed in season.
Yep. Which is unfortunate because who knows what could have happened, especially with the roster that had been built around. It ended up being for Deshaun, but if that had been built around Baker instead, maybe we're in gravy right now. Who knows?
Yeah. Mostert tackled shy of the line, 3rd and 2. Do appreciate everybody being on. Phil Nagy, Kit Nagy. Nagy on Sports is the channel, only place on YouTube where you can find these simulated sporting events with the live original commentary. Do appreciate all of our subscribers. You guys truly are the best. They'll go Mostert again. Left side, McGuire shuts it down. 4th down coming for the Dolphins.
I mean, could you imagine the 2023 season with just Baker, a healthy Baker all year with that defense being as studly as they were?
Yep.
And then just think about what you had. You had all the ingredients on offense if you weren't rotating through 5 quarterbacks because of injuries and everything else. If you just had a healthy Baker in that position on that team, who knows what might have happened in those playoffs.
Very true. Plus, you'd have had 3 more first-round picks worth of players.
Right. Well, and not to mention the fact that you're probably much higher in the seeding. I mean, there's real potential. The Browns could have been the number 1 overall seed in the AFC.
Yeah. Over the middle, nice catch kind of behind him for Elijah Moore. 200 yards right on the dot for DTR. And 2 touchdowns. He's played well here so far in the sim. Well, and again, it's the location, the situation, the staff around it, the scheme, all of those things. I mean, it's really like kind of arranging a marriage based on like skill sets and strengths and different things, because it's just so everybody I talk to is like, man, we passed on Josh Allen. We could have had Josh Allen. He was literally taking a couple pack, and it's like, dude, there's a 99.9% chance that Freddie Kitchens and company ruined Josh Allen. And we never get to see him be what he is right now because he didn't have Sean McDermott, he didn't have the Bills, he didn't have a little bit longer rope at the beginning to make those mistakes. Like, I wouldn't say 100%, but I'm going to say 99.9% chance that Josh Allen doesn't become Josh Allen if Cleveland drafts him.
Yep, I agree.
And I feel that's a little unfair to be like, I can't believe that Andrew Berry passed on him. It's like, well, first of all, I don't even remember if Andrew Berry was the GM there at the time, but whoever the GM is, like, you just, like, oh, I can't believe they passed on him. Or, you know, same thing. Mahomes was, taken 15th or something? Like, 14 teams passed on him. You know, how could they have done that? And it's like, he was doing some of that stuff at Texas Tech, but it was also Texas Tech, you know, and it was unorthodox, and nobody was doing that kind of stuff yet. And I don't know if people just got scared or what, that it wasn't going to translate. I certainly hadn't heard of him being like, oh, this kid's going to change the face of the league coming into the pros. Like,
no.
And again, if you take him away from Travis Kelce and Andy Reid and that scheme and that offense, does he do poorly?
Exactly.
You never know. Well, even Lamar, hey, Tony, welcome in. I think even Lamar Jackson, they were talking about it, Jim, like when he was a, quote, free agent like a year ago, and he wanted, like, no other teams wanted him. Like, even dude's probably going to win another MVP. He is like one of one in what he can do, his skill set. But, like, none of the other teams were willing to, what was it? Like, I think it was just a first-round pick, right? It was the compensation that they needed to match the tag.
Right.
Before they signed him to the long-term deal. So it's like nobody else was like, nah, I'm good. I don't need that for my team. So teams get weird.
No other team is really built the way that Baltimore is built. I mean, they are
Correct.
built for a quarterback like him, and nobody else is. I mean, so he is a very scheme-specific quarterback, and it's great on the Ravens, but that's probably not very successful if you try to put that on, you know, another team randomly across. I mean, you put that in Carolina, they're not going to succeed.
So it's just a very interesting conversation. As Judy's going to get his second touchdown, nice slant. They ran it a previous play, and Judy was open, and it was just kind of a bad pass. So I think the coaches saw that, ran it again. And a touchdown for the Browns. Again, second of the day for Jerry Jeudy. Kind of splits that bracket coverage nicely. We'll take it. Jerry Jeudy, he can stay. He's probably going to be on the roster in all three versions of the Nagy on Sports roster.
Yeah, he what a great pickup that was. Just
he and like Corey Bojorquez are like the two like bright shining moments of the season. Basically. I mean, unfortunately you didn't get to see a lot of Mike Hall for varying reasons. His PFF
Miles was Miles.
Well, Miles is Miles, and his Mike Hall's PFF grades, if he qualified with enough snaps, he would be a top 12 like defensive tackle in the league. So it's like, okay, I think we know what we have with him, but he just, again, the civil stuff at the beginning of the year, and he's been nicked up here and there, so hard to really fully judge on that sample size, clearly. I disagree, Jim. I think he's done. I don't think he takes another. I don't think you can look the rest of the 52 guys in the eye and be like, yep, running this thing back is the best option. Now, are they stuck? Will he be on the roster in some capacity? Yes. Can you pay a practice squad player a full contract? That I don't know. If he's just got to be the third quarterback buried on the roster, but I do not believe that he would start even if he's fully healthy. But that's me. I just don't think you can you can't look the rest of the team in the eye and say this is what gives us the best chance to win, because they've all seen it for 3 years.
Yep. That
it's not.
Yeah, especially after this season where it came out pretty plain and obvious to everyone, and that was just, it was not going to work. It was not what we had all hoped it would be.
Yeah, in fact, it would be refreshing if they just said, like, you know what, potential franchise quarterbacks don't come available in the middle of their prime very often. We took a big swing. We realized that it was a gamble from the beginning. We had obviously hoped that it would have worked out. It clearly has not. We understand that we got to pay him for 2 more years, and we're going to pay him to sit at home on his couch because we've moved on in everything except paycheck for him,
Yeah.
Which, hey, nice work if you can get it for Deshaun. That'll be 2 different teams that are paying you tens of millions of dollars to stay home. So maybe joke's on us, but I just don't think that you can kind of, for lack of a better term, like pussyfoot around this anymore and just be like, well, if he's healthy, we're going to give him a real shot. Like, it's just, he doesn't have it anymore. Sorry our gamble blew up in our face. They had to know that that was an option. Again, Andrew Berry plans for every scenario ever. They had to know that that was at least an option. Obviously, they didn't want it to happen, but It was at least a possible outcome.
You don't make that trade
No.
if you think it was going to happen, but
No.
but on the other hand, you don't, especially, I mean, this is the NFL. It just is best laid plans, right? I mean, you're not going to win them all. It's just not feasible. Every move does not work out the way you want it to, and unfortunately, this was a big swing, and it was a complete whiff, and we can all admit that at this point, that's where it was, and you really needed it to work out because you had invested so heavily in it.
Yeah.
But that being said, does not mean they did not plan for the potential that it wouldn't work out, and they're doing those things now.
Yeah, I mean, it's very fair to say that it is the worst trade in the history of professional sports. And I think that's pretty fair to say, but that doesn't mean that they're going to stop having a football team in Cleveland and that they won't figure out a way to get past it eventually. But has it set them back? Absolutely. So, hey Mason, welcome in. Hey Rick, welcome in. Good to have you guys on. 21-7 here. Browns playing pretty well. DTR's had a very nice day so far. He almost threw a pick while I'm complimenting him. 7 seconds left. He's got 2 touchdown passes to Jerry Jeudy and 1 to Elijah Moore here in this game. Yeah, if for me and I'm a decision maker, I'm not ready to throw away Kevin Stefanski just yet. I am ready to be done with the Ken Dorsey experiment. Let's go back to Stefanski's wide zone, play action scheme, go find the guy, whether that's, if you trust Kirk Cousins to do that, or if there's somebody else who you identify that can run that offense at a super high level, a la Brock Purdy or something. And then you let, Kevin bring in guys who can run, stop trying to build this thing for Deshaun, because that offense stinks, especially when the guy you're building it for also stinks and then isn't available to play it either. So it took away all the things you were doing well and made them all worse. Mostly running the football and having an identity and those kinds of things. So that's what I would do. Now, is there a chance? I don't think Kevin's getting fired. I think at this point, even if they lose out, I think he's still safe. I think they're going to get a chance to try to fix it. Maybe just one more chance, but I think they're going to both get a chance to fix it. And there would have to be some changes. Yeah.
He's coming off the coach of the year. There's the pick you were looking for, and it's going to go for 6.
Ramsey baited him, and just like that, the Dolphins are right back in the game. I figured it was coming soon. I spoke it into existence accidentally. That's Thrash again. He's targeted Thrash a lot today, but Thrash just stands there and waits.
Yeah.
Ramsey
Thrash
drives on the ball.
Rookie mistake there from Jamari as he just sitting there in his spot. Got to work back to the ball, especially when he feels pressure from the defender. If he feels that defender coming up on it, he's got to work to that ball because at least contest it.
Yep.
You can't sit there and wait and hope.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think Mason, in some ways, it's almost kind of like plausible deniability for them. Like, listen, we went out and got this guy who has a track record of working with quarterbacks like Deshaun at a high level. I'm sure Deshaun signed off on it. Like, Hey, what do you think about Ken Dorsey? Oh, yeah, no, that would be great. Like, they did that specifically for him, and then, did that mean that, is Deuce Staley a Ken Dorsey guy? Is Andy Dickerson a Ken Dorsey guy? Is Tommy Reese a Ken Dorsey guy? Here comes Ford to the right side with another big run. Another broken tackle, and he can't quite keep his momentum. Otherwise, maybe that's 6. Nice run.
He should have had that. That should have been a long, busted tackle for a touchdown at the end of it. I don't know how he didn't maintain his balance, but that was one of those, perfect spots. All he had to do is take that next step.
He's had some pretty big gash runs today. GTR back to pass, left side throw! He had a beat! He's just got to put a little air under that one. He threw a fastball, and Jeudy couldn't catch up.
Well, the fastball would have worked if it was on target. If he puts it right on him, he's gone. That's a touchdown. If he just puts a little air under it for Jeudy to run under it, that's also a touchdown. Jerry Jeudy had the space. It was just not a great throw.
He sure did. Here comes Ford up the middle. Nice run again for 11. So, yeah, I think you could easily just say, hey, our offense blew this year, and it was for this other guy who's not going to be quarterback any year, so I'm going to make some more changes on offense. But, yeah, my only fear is that Stefanski's strength and part of what makes him so great is also going to end up being his downfall, which is that he's supremely loyal to his guys, and he really likes, I think he really likes the coaches that he works with, but at some point you got to be willing to be like, dude, we sucked and you were part of it, see ya. Dude, we sucked and you were part of it, see ya. Rather than like, well, they're under contract for another year and let's just try it again because it'll be different this time, we promise. But so, and again, I've said before in our Sims that Stefanski's willingness to delegate and, you know, trusting his guys to do their job, like that's part of what makes him so great, but it's also part of his downfall. There are times where I just wish that he would just take over and be like, nope, we're doing it this way. As Ford dives into the end zone. Touchdown, Browns. What a drive from Jerome Ford.
Yeah, that was impressive. He really worked for that touchdown. I thought he was going to have it earlier on the drive, but he makes good here with just a great effort play at the line. As you're going to see him here just fight his way through that tackle, just able to control the ball over the line and get himself into the end zone. And a great stiff arm, too, to lead up to it also. That would just get putting the defender on his face.
Oh, interesting. I'm just seeing Schefter 17 minutes ago that Tua now doubtful to play with a hip injury. So it'll be Tyler Huntley against Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Well, that makes the automatic loss much more difficult.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I think that Miami can still, if they go 9-8, I think they still got a chance to get in.
Right. No, I think they want to win. I mean, interesting spot though, and certainly further justifies the pulling this game out of primetime.
Yes, well, yeah, that for sure. Tipped away by Mike Ford. Yeah, Mason, I'll be curious. I think part of it is because nobody really knows what DePodesta does. He doesn't really have a title that people understand, so I'm not sure how much of his fingerprints are on the roster, if any. I mean, there could be a ton. I mean, if he's the one who helps set the quote-unquote guardrails and all that stuff, like, these are the kind of players we're going to go for, like, then, yeah, maybe he does deserve. I've also heard that he's kind of continuing to lower his role. Like, he doesn't come to Cleveland at all very much anymore. More of just like a consultant at this point. But I do think that Andrew Berry, I think he and Kevin are kind of locked at the hip right now. They both got the extension in the offseason. Not that money clearly is a problem for Haslam, but I think that if Stefanski's going to stay, that he's going to let AB stay because those two clearly see the game very similarly, which is why they were a good arrangement to begin with, in my opinion, and why they've been the most stable of front offices that we've had in a long time. So,
well, and you can't overstate how important that stability is. I mean, most of our struggles and woes is just because of how just turbulent our front office and coaching staff had been. I mean, just for the fact that, you know, your guys were walking into the situation, getting married to a dude that they had just met, that they, I mean, hadn't even talked to before, practically, had no kind of work history or seeing the game in alignment. Yeah. And that's supremely difficult to do.
Yes.
If you get different motivations, different goals, you're trying to hit different objectives, and now all of a sudden, how are you supposed to work together?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that it doesn't just happen more. That it's just, hey, a new coach, new GM, like, because they have to be in such
lockstep.
Yeah, exactly. They have to be on the same page about just about everything. From, well, what kind of technique do you want to play? Well, I'm going to play a wide 9. So, okay. So 360-pound defensive tackles are not what we need. Okay, you know what I mean? Like just simple stuff like that. Finding two people that can see the game and speak the same way about what they want is so vitally important. Third and inches. Give it up the middle to Jerome Ford. He got another first down. Brown's just going to kind of salt this one away. Yeah, I don't know, Rick, because I don't know. My memory isn't good enough to remember all of the players that John Dorsey drafted, but I don't feel like he was responsible for every great player we'd ever drafted, and that was it.
No, I actually don't think he was that great at drafting.
He's got his hands on. I mean, he's not the GM, but I think he's like the assistant GM for the Lions right now, right?
Yeah, he's in that room at least as a consultant. I don't know if he's an assistant or not, but
yeah.
But no, I actually don't think his drafting was that great. He had a few picks that were solid, but his biggest challenge was the fact that he was very authoritarian in that, like, it was his way or the highway,
yeah.
and he was hard to work with.
Yep.
And that's why I don't think he was the answer here. I think ultimately that's why he got let go, is because the Freddie Kitchens hire was his directive. He needed a guy that he was going to be able to push around. Freddie Kitchens was that guy, and we all saw how that worked out. Took had all kinds of promise to it and turned it into a dumpster fire season.
Yes, he drafted Baker, he drafted Denzel, he drafted Chubb, he drafted Sione Takitaki. Those are the 4 most notable players that he's drafted, according to my AI overview Google search.
Yeah, and keep in mind,
he also drafted Antonio Callaway in that same draft.
That's right. Yeah, don't keep in mind with those draft picks, every single one of them, with the exception of Nick Chubb, are a first-round draft pick, and then with a number 1, except for Sione also, I suppose. Ooh, that was weird physics. That looked painful. But Sione Takitaki and Nick Chubb may as well have been a first-round draft pick. He was the first overall in the second round, right? So you had a lot of high-end draft capital there that you're talking about. That's a number 1 overall and number 4 overall, the number 1 in the second draft in the round, and Sione Takitaki was a gem that draft. I think he was 4th or 5th round, and he just kind of developed out of that spot. I mean, he ended up being a pretty good player, but you got to hit on your first round draft pick. That's a must.
Yep.
So and yes, you could say that we didn't hit as much as we would like to on Wills, but you haven't had a lot of first round draft picks either for AB. So it's hard to judge him by comparison for that reason alone.
That's true. He has not gotten to have a lot of first round picks. Austin Corbett was in that draft. I'm not sure if he's still in the league anymore.
I don't think so.
Drag route to Craycraft as the Browns look like they're going to end this one. Oh, Chad Thomas, defensive end from Miami. He wanted to be a rapper, right? And more than playing football. Let's see. He also drafted Jannard Avery, Greedy Williams, Sheldrick Redwine, Mac Wilson, Donnie Lewis. Those are all defenders that John Dorsey drafted.
Yeah.
Antonio Callaway was in that draft, and there's Jannard Avery. Damian Ratley from Texas A&M. There's Simeon Thomas from Louisiana. This one's going to go out of bounds. That was his 18 draft. Then in 19, he traded for Beckham, so he didn't have a first rounder. Then they took Greedy Williams, Sione Takitaki in the 3rd, Sheldrick Redwine, Mac Wilson, Austin Seibert, the kicker. Tua running for his life, and he'll chuck this one out of bounds. Then they took Drew Forbes, who was like always hurt for us. Donnie Lewis, a defensive back from Tulane. So that was it. Did he just have those 2 drafts? He just drafted in 18 and 19. That was it. So,
yeah.
So I may push back on a little bit on your he knew how to draft football players there, Rick. So, all right, here we go. 1:24 on the clock. Browns have played very well in the sim. This would potentially bode well for general happiness of Cleveland until they realize that now we're picking 8th or 10th instead of 4th or 5th. But we will see. We will see how it goes.
Mason, I wouldn't call either one of those a miss necessarily for his first-round draft pick for AB. Newsome has played very well for the Browns. I mean, he hasn't been maybe the level you wanted him to be. Doesn't mean he's not been very good for the Browns on the defense. They just have had a really excellent cornerback room. And then Wills, maybe you wanted him to be a little better than he actually ended up being, but he still wasn't an awful pick. He was a steady starter for the Browns, and that's what you needed out of the first round draft pick. So that's what he did. The 3 picks, yes, you took a swing for the fences and you struck out, absolutely. But that's not a drafting. I mean, you can't compare that as a first round draft pick comparison. He didn't pick anyone there. He traded those. That's a very different discussion.
Final score, 31-14. Holy smokes, can you imagine? Wonder what your odds would be if you tried to go on FanDuel and have the Browns with a 14-point spread to win. Probably do all right. Would be my guess. There was the one touchdown that they did end up calling a touchdown to Tua over them. All right. So 31-14, pretty fun sim. Good to have some folks on to chat. Good to have Kit on as well. We're able to catch him on the right side of the airspace for this one. Also, if you missed it yesterday during the Cavs sim, I think what I'm going to do for the CFP is out of exhibition mode, just go ahead and run the actual matchups so that we get the real matchups. Because I can understand it's a little bit weird to be like, well, wait a minute, Miami isn't actually in. Why are the Buckeyes playing them? So we'll do that. I'll still sim the games because we have to get to the offseason, but at least we'll see the real matchups. Hopefully should be fun. Okay, 17 of 32 for 158 today for Tua, and the touchdown was where he was at. Mostert 8 for 33. Achane just 1 for -4. That doesn't seem like the right thing to do. 6 for 42 for Waddle, 5 for 48 for Tyreek. River Craycraft with 3 as well. Browns defense played pretty well in this one. 12 tackles for Jordan Poyer, 11 for Brooks, 11 for Holland, 10 for Duke Riley and Kadir Koho. On that one, whoops, I hit the wrong button. Sacks today, just 1. Sealer and Chop Robinson, the rookie out of Penn State, got home for 1. The 1 pick was by Jalen Ramsey, and it house called. So this game actually could have been a bigger margin. 1 touchdown was courtesy of Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He was 30 of 41 for 327 today. 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. That would be quite a feat if he did that. How about Jerome Ford? 29 for 168 on a touchdown.
Yeah, he had quite a game.
How about 86 yards after contact, too? Very nice performance for him. 10 for 99 for Akins, playing for the injured Njoku. 7 for $121 and 2 touchdowns for Judy. 7 and 60 for Elijah Moore. 3 catches for Thrash, 2 for Trey McKitty, and 1 for Jerome Ford. Defensively speaking, 8 tackles for Diabate. He was your leader. He also had a sack. 3 sacks for Myles Garrett. We must have been chatting during those because I don't remember calling any of them, but they happened, by golly. 31-14 is the final score, guys. Do appreciate you hanging out with us on this one. Kid, anything else to wrap up the game or your point there?
Certainly a fun game for some players for us. There's some Jerry Jeudy action and some Ford action. Good stuff from both of those guys. And DTR had a good game as well, except for that 1 pick 6. But certainly would be fun to see it that way. Although certainly at this point, not looking for a win, more looking for the draft position, hopefully 4th or 3rd.
Yep, indeed. All right, guys, this one was a lot of fun. Again, we do really appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much to all of our subscribers. You guys are the best. Again, if you would like to participate in What Should the Browns Really Do in the offseason, Kit and I are going to be bringing that to you on our Discord channel very soon. So make sure that you join us on the Discord. Just use the invite link in the description of this or any of our other videos. But do appreciate you being with us today. Browns won the sim. That was lots of fun. For Kit out on the left coast, Phil here in Central Ohio, we are Nagy on Sports, guys. Have a great rest of your day. And if we don't talk to you before then, have a very, very happy and safe New Year. And as always, go Browns!